Date. Of course, today is a weather impact alert day. You probably have already seen the rain falling all across the Houston area. One thing to note, it is heavier south of I-10 along 45 and along our coastal area. So this is what we're going to really need to look out for as we head throughout the rest of today. The main impact is going to be that street flooding, as we could see some ponding on roadways and some possible street concerns south of I-10. The good news, though, for the Houston area is that the flood conditions have definitely held up in terms of not really causing any flooding issues. Have caused some hazardous roadways, but we're not really dealing with any major flooding issues across the Houston area at the moment. So also we're tracking those rising bayous and creeks as our grounds are already saturated, so any additional rainfall likely to contribute to some of those moderate flood stages, especially north of Houston. So the National Weather Service keeping that flood watch from Harris, Galveston, Brazoria, Fort Bend counties until 10 p.m. today. They're not including our northern areas, but as we look at radar right now, there is widespread showers from Houston. Most of that heavier activity occurring in and around the Galveston area to Brazosport and portions of Brazoria County. There's also more downpours occurring just to the north of the Conroe area along 45. So all of southeast Texas dealing with this widespread rain that is causing some hazardous roadways, so be extra cautious if you do find yourself out on our roadways in conditions. Right now, rain not as heavy across the Houston area, just moderate ongoing. We are not seeing any flooding issues across the Houston area, but we could see that ponding on some roadways. However, National Weather Service is also issuing some flood warnings along the east and west forks of the San Jacinto River. That's going to be in effect until 10 p.m. tonight. As we look at our live river gauges, we're also keeping an eye on the east fork of the San Jacinto River at New Caney. Right now it is forecasted to reach 65.70 feet. That is moderate flood stage. Also, major flood stage is at 69 feet. We're not expected to be that high, but areas in close proximity of the river, be extra cautious if you do find yourselves in. Be extra vigilant on those roadways that are in and around those major waterways, especially to the northeast of the Houston area, just upstream from Lake Houston. Also, we're keeping an eye on Caney Creek at Splendora. Right now it is 18.94 feet. It is forecasted to be 18.94 feet. That is moderate flood stage. Major flood stage is at 21 feet, and we're not expected to be that high, but just kind of giving you an indication on what is major flood stage and when we usually start seeing issues on those major rivers and streams. So widespread showers occurring across Houston, causing some slippery roads and slick roads, so be extra cautious. However, if you are south of I-10 along Galveston, Brazosport, even Angleton, we're seeing some of those heavier downpours and possible storms, especially in and around the Wharton area. I know the National Weather Service just issued a special weather statement for portions of Wharton County, as we're seeing some lightning and some stronger storm activity to the southwest of the Houston area. So definitely expecting those flood advisories that's in a place for Galveston. That's for Galveston County. That's going to be in effect until 12 p.m. as we've already seen close to 3 to 4 inches of accumulated rainfall, and we're expecting this to really not let up at least until 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock this evening. So we're going to have this long period of heavy rain for our coastal areas south of I-10. Also, we're looking at another flood warning that's in effect for Brazoria counties. That's going to be in effect until 9:30 p.m. And that looks like the Bowling River in and around that location, maybe the Brazos River, but just heavy rain from Bay City to Wadsworth, Ashford, West Columbia, dealing with the heavier rain showers. So as we look at the 12-hour rain totals for us here across Houston, this is what we've been seeing for the morning hours. We've only gotten maybe just about 1/8 of an inch of rain, about 1/2 an inch of rain. Things are good in terms of the flood conditions. Things are draining off. The rain has not been as heavy. That's really causing those major flooding concerns that we saw during Beryl. But that moderate light rainfall, definitely good news for the Houston area. However, once we continue to see this rain fall, we could start seeing more flooding concerns later on this afternoon, more ponding on those roadways. However, south of I-10, like I've mentioned, they got up to about 3.3 inches of radar estimated rainfall in and around the Galveston area, up to 1.7 inches of rain. And this is what we're going to start seeing. We're already seeing those flooding concerns in and around our coastal areas and south of I-10. So as we look at future track, we are expecting this to dissipate and sort of become more isolated as we get closer towards around the 4:30, 5 o'clock hours. We still can't rule out more additional downpours, but we're going to have a relatively calmer evening, going into tonight and into the early hours of tomorrow. However, rain chances still in the picture for Friday morning. Not as widespread, but if you are along the coast, if you have those plans out towards Galveston, even Brazosport, Surfside Beach, just keep in mind that rain is very much going to be in the forecast, at least for the next 2 to 3 days. And then heading into this weekend, we're still expecting downpours just south of I-10. We have this stationary boundary that's just been draped across the southeast Texas area for the last few days. This has really just lingered across the area and it hasn't really moved much, and that's really the cause of this widespread rainfall, and we're expecting this to be in the picture at least for the next 24 to 48 hours going into this weekend. The good news though is that we are expecting this to lighten up for next week, but the bad news is that we're expecting those hot and humid conditions to return for next week. High temps in the 90s, overnight lows in the upper 70s, low 80s. So looking at that rainfall potential, widespread today. We could see those scattered downpours once again tomorrow, but not as widespread as what we're dealing with today. But then as we head into the start of our next week, we're going to see it more isolated in nature. Still feel 30 to 40% chance of isolated showers and storms for Monday and Tuesday, but most of us are going to be more on the drier side for much of next week. So just keep that in mind if you are out and about. And so if you are just now joining this stream, we are in a weather impact alert day, all thanks to the widespread rain that we're currently experiencing here across southeast Texas. Most of it is holding up nice in terms of the flooding concerns in the Houston area. It has not been as heavy, so we are expecting that to continue through the mid-afternoon hours by 4 or 5 p.m. Heavier rain south of I-10. Main impact is going to be that street flooding, and we're also looking at those rising bayous and creeks and those streams that have already received quite a bit of rain within the past week or so. Flood watch in effect until 10 p.m. for portions of Harris, Brazoria, and Galveston counties. We're still expecting widespread showers throughout much of the day, so be extra cautious if you are out and about or if you are on our area roadways and those highways, at least for the next few hours. So flood warnings in effect for areas northeast of Houston. That's going to be in effect at least until 10 o'clock this evening for Harris and Montgomery counties. We're looking at those live flood gauges. Some of those rivers and streams northeast of town, just upstream from Lake Houston, are at moderate flood stages, not major flood stage. Just keep in mind that it's forecasted, the San Jacinto River at New Caney forecasted to be 65.70 feet. Major flood stage is at 69 feet. So we're not expecting that in terms of what we saw about a month or two ago. But other than that, these widespread showers and storms expected to last at least through the next few hours, as soon as about 5, 6 o'clock, as well as that heavier downpours occurring just mainly south of the Houston area along 45. So we've already seen that heavier rainfall. So just keep in mind 4:30, 5 o'clock. Roads are still going to be wet. We could still see some light showers, but it's going to become less widespread as we go into the evening. So that's the latest in terms of our weather forecast for today. We have this widespread showers and storms, mainly south of Houston. Nuisance rain occurring from Houston all the way up to the north towards the Woodlands and Conroe, lasting at least till 5 and then becoming more isolated as we get closer towards the later evening hours between 6 and 7 p.m. And as always, you can stay up to date with the latest weather forecast on KHOU.com as well as on the KHOU 11 app.